Hi guys, so this is an Octo fan. Yes, as you can see, it's running, but it's not plugged into any computer. It's plugged in right here. So via a USB, and this is an Octo fan. So basically, how I did it was, Noctua fans and most pretty much fans have yellow, which is 12 volt, red, which is 5 volt, black, which is ground. And so if you notice USB cables like this is the one that it came from. It's just a USB cable. I mean, a USB-B cable. So you basically, they have white, green, black, and red wires. So 5 volt ground and data cables. So I basically use some scissors, cut the wire, so cut the USB end off, and I took the actual some scissors and cut off the fan portion for a PC. And so if you have actually solder, you want to solder them together, and you want to solder the red to red, black to black, because you solder 5 volt to 5 volt, ground to ground, and then you basically can have basically a fan running, and then you want to wrap each connection in electrical tape, which I did, and you can let it sit like that, and you can tape them together as long as the ground doesn't touch the ground, as long as the ground doesn't touch the hot and the hot doesn't touch the ground, so because they'll basically short. So after that, you basically then can make it look good by, after wrapping in electrical tape, then putting some heat shrink on there to make it look better than this. I'm going to basically wrap it in heat shrink after after soldering it together, but you don't need to solder it together. All you have to do is basically cut the wires, and then take the red, twist it together, black, twist it together to like the black, and red to red. And so, and you wrap it in electrical tape, and then wrap it in heat shrink, or you can wrap it in duct tape, like what I did here. And then, but the soldering, the connection will be the best, and then you just test it just to make sure it works. I would make sure to have some kind of way of, if you manage, so basically most because if you have one that has black cables, you don't know which actually which black one is ground, which one is hot, which one is 12, I mean which one is 5 volt, which one is 12 volt. So you would need a multimeter to test them. But since this is just a plain regular fan, you can see it has ground, 5 volt and 12 volt. You can just twist red to red, black to black. It was, and plus in some cases, this is a really rare case, like some fans, like actually the noise blocker fans, they have white, I mean they have red, yellow, and black. The yellow is 5 volt in that one, and then plus then the red is basically, the red is 12 volt. So at that point um you would have to put the yellow towards the red on the USB cable, and then the red, I mean plus the black to black. So that would save you. So if you basically put red to red and black to black with actually noise blocker fan, you could have a chance of starting a fire, and you should have something prepared. So just in case, because I had some actual a way of putting out the fire when actually making this. And I also was wearing shoes that I could basically, these are basically shoes I had on, but basically just something you actually can step on it to extinguish the flames if there's ever a fire. So, and also you should also make sure you have a fire extinguisher too, just in case it gets really out of hand. That's if you basically, if you mess up with the fan and put, if you have a fan that has ground, that has 5 volt, that's 12 volt, or 12 volt, that's 5 volt. So if the red is actually 5 volt, which usually is, and yellow, which is usually 12 volt. Which if that is reversed, then there's a possibility of fire. But basically, the ones that I know about that basically most standard fans that have basically red, black, and yellow fans. I mean, K cables are basically yellow is 12 volt, red is 5 volt, and black is ground. If you go for like a Corsair maglev fan, those usually have black cables, and the ground isn't really the ground. Yeah, it's just weird with actually the maglev fans, but you shouldn't do this with a maglev fan. You shouldn't even do this with like an Noctua fan unless you really need a quiet fan that pushes a lot of air, which this one does. And it's also I would also, if it's a spare fan, something you don't actually care if it breaks. Well, I cared if this breaks, but basically, I basically tested it just to make sure it would work. Yeah, okay, so that's what you need to do with the basically that fan, just to test it to make sure. This is going to be used for this is going to be used for a this is going to be used for a silent computer, for a fanless computer that I need air on, and so this probably will get zip tied to like that fan. I mean, to like the computer, and the computer is just basically being my workstation computer that I basically use for remoting into to this if I need to remote in, or it would remote, or it allows me to basically allow me to remote in to that computer for using this camera and the capture card that this HDMI cable goes to, and this microphone will go to there and to the computer that's going to sit right there with the USB cable. So 2 male to 1 female USB cable, so I can basically have my audio interface hooked up to like there, so I can basically install the Focusrite Scarlett software onto both computers, and then use my mic on both computers, because one, that webcam is going to be hooked to the computer. That's one thing. 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, and then 6 if it doesn't have Bluetooth. And that would be I think it's one of the ones that's not plugged up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So I can basically have workstation stuff, and also if it doesn't have if it has Bluetooth, then I can save one and then take my little adapter right here to basically, it has a micro SD card in here, plug that into there. If it does have a SD card slot, then I'm just gonna use this adapter with micro SD card, plug it into like there, and still have 400 gigs, around 400 gigs of storage. And then I also have to get a spare. One second, I gotta reach it. I would have to get a spare one of these adapters to hook that to, because this is what I usually throw into my backpack when I leave the house. But yeah, so this computer is hooked up to the projector only. The computer I am getting to use as a workstation is going to be hooked up to the TV only. So, and what's also hooked up to this projector is a Roku, so I can basically listen to so I can basically just, because the whole reason I basically did this was to get rid of 2 remotes, because I had 4 remotes. I had the projector, the Roku, the fan, and then the actual Blu-ray remote, and then this remote. This remote is basically just specifically for this TV, but it's going to be getting put somewhere else because I don't need this remote for this TV because I can just use the Google Assistant. And then for that, the fan, my phone has an IR blaster on there, so I can basically just use my phone to turn on and off this fan with my phone. Because I was gonna get Logitech Harmony, and plus, but the Logitech Harmony I wanted to get is sold. It keeps selling out because it's basically not that easy to find, and so, and this Blu-ray player is a Blu-ray player that I have a Blu-ray software on this computer that allows me to watch Blu-ray on this projector if I need to watch a Blu-ray. And also it's a DVD software just because I want to watch DVDs that I don't have on Plex, which I have on my Roku. So pretty much all my DVDs are already on Plex, which is in the back room. And so yeah, so let me just get to there real quick and I'll show you. So quick update now. So here's this part. So I have this monitor here for if I need to connect it to like there, I have to put an HDMI cable there. I just didn't have any extra at the moment. But basically, this is for monitoring this. So if I need to hook up a keyboard mouse, I hook up a Bluetooth thing. I hook up a wireless keyboard and mouse there, and that's a dual USB mouse and keyboard. And then I would put it in the back, but I usually just use this port for installing Windows or any kind of software. So right now this is a QNAP NAS that it has 8 gigs of DDR4, I think it is, and a Celeron. It's running Windows 10. I don't have a copy of Windows Server 2016, which has drivers for this. It just doesn't have the all the drivers. It's just missing a couple essential drivers because it's running an Intel CPU, meaning it can run Windows. It has an HDMI port on the back, but if you have a HDMI on anything and it has an Intel CPU, it can pretty much most of the time run at you Windows. So at first I had this 4TB hard drive. This is a spare NAS that has, I had this hard drive in there. This is my other NAS. My actual Plex NAS is basically somewhere else. It's basically behind here, or that basically it's basically just there's a NAS that's behind there that runs Windows 2, but it has two 20TB hard drives in there, and that's 40 terabytes. So with this NAS, this is just a backup NAS. This has a 256 gigabyte Intel SSD in there that I took from my desktop, that I replaced that with like a Samsung SSD. On the other bay right here is a 4TB drive for backup of computers, and what's next to that is a 4TB hard drive. So what's going in this slot is another 4TB hard drive for giving me a total of 12 terabytes for actually backup. And if I want to, I can upgrade the actual USB to a 4-bay one and have a total of 20 terabytes on 5 drives. So one in there, 4 there, and so that would allow me to unplug that cable there and plug it directly into the UPS. Because what's running on UPS is what's running on the battery, because what's running on the battery is the modem, that's 2, the USB thing, that's 2, this is 3, so that's running on there, which is my NAS, my backup NAS, and then that switch that is hooked up to their stuff there, and then 4, which is my wireless router, and then This is basically just some other drives, backup drives that have just data on there that needs to be taken to a storage unit, and then this is plugged into the wall. And so what backs up to here is my this laptop, my desktop, my iPad, my phone, and another laptop, and some other computers. And also, this is a backup target for a remote computer for my friend whose server runs his server runs around, it has 3 terabytes of backup data that basically he updates. It's just his backup media. I have to put another drive in here for actually bad backup. So in total, that basically leaves me with almost no. I'm talking about, this is a 4 terabyte drive. It's not like full 3 terabytes, which is like three actual 3,000 gigs. It's around 298, which is after 4 format, which leaves me with like a total of 4 terabytes, because in total these drives are around 798 gigs together. So I would have to put another 4 terabyte in here. And so what I want to do is get 3 more 4 terabyte drives for this, so it can have backup target for actually more.